Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. Recently, I did a video on how CIG should implement racing in master modes, and I left off something to make it truly complete as a racing simulation, which I did not simply for time, but also because it applies beyond racing to also combat, FPS, and other high-performance game loops. Also because, in my vision, it exists at the intersection of three game features that are still unimplemented: crafting, science, and exploration. What I'm talking about is the eternal quest to make yourself just a little bit better than the other guys. A little tighter, a little faster, a little more powerful. In MMOs, this frequently sees its manifestation in legendary quest items, which often are massively magically more powerful than their pedestrian counterparts. But there's a huge difference between those games and Star Citizen. The most important is that Star Citizen must remain a game in which player skill is, by unquestionable margin, the primary determinant of results. If your legendary quest weapon does double damage and your legendary quest armor absorbs double damage, then those items, and indirectly doing the quest, is the primary determinant of results. I'm not saying those MMOs are bad, only they are not what Star Citizen should be or needs. And neither are they necessary. If all there is available are 1 or 2% improvements, then players will enthusiastically seek those 1 or 2% because any additional advantage is better than no additional advantage, particularly if there isn't an easy, simple way for just anybody to get it. The second way in which I want Star Citizen to be different than typical MMOs is in regards to that typically MMOs pair those legendary items with obviously flashy appearance as a way to boost hype and also, as a practical matter, warn other players of what they are going against. The net effect, though, is that pretty much everybody has the same gaudy appearance because they are nobody without that quest set. What makes more sense for Star Citizen, particularly since we have real money purchased armor and weapons, is that if I have found a way to make armor 2% better or withstand 2 degrees colder temperatures, then I should be able to apply it to any armor. So you don't have to feel like you have to give up your purchased armor set to get that 2%, and I don't feel that I have to give up my favorite found armor for it. We can continue to choose the armor that we like the appearance or other qualities of. And since the differences are small, there is no need to send up a semaphore saying, "Watch out, here comes trouble." So, let's get to the subject of crafting. And over the years, I have observed changes in which of the two main forms of crafting the game will be doing. The two main forms of crafting are creating and enhancing. Creating is taking iron and making a sword. Enhancing is taking a sword and making it a magic sword. Early on in the Q&As, 10 for the chairmans, and the original stretch goals, all discussion was about enhancement, also sometimes called tweaking and overclocking by Chris and other early devs. But more recently, the discussion has moved more towards a sort of 3D printing of standardized items, in particular the presentation on base building at the last CitizenCon.
Fabrication. So when you basically build these buildings, they don't come with any furnishings. And if you didn't bring any with you, then you want to build a fabricator. So depending on what you want to build, there's different sizes of them that support buildings from decorations, armor, weapons, components, and even ships.
So why not do both? Well, sure, with infinite time and infinite money, you can definitely have a complete set of both capabilities. And fundamentally, it seems to pivot on what sort of person do you want to be in the verse. Do you want to be a Iacocca or a Carroll Shelby? For those unfamiliar, Iacocca was the VP of Marketing at Ford Motors, closely associated with the launch of the Ford Mustang, which sold over 1 million in its first 2 years from launch. Carroll Shelby took a very small number of those Mustangs and created the Shelby GT350, GT500, Shelby Cobra GT350, and Shelby Cobra GT500, which are among the most sought-after muscle cars by collectors. Eventually, he became in charge of the Ford racing program and created the GT40 that swept Le Mans. Iacocca went on to rescue Chrysler Corporation using the K cars, widely regarded as the most boring yet profitable car designs ever, while Shelby went on to gain one of the highest accolades America bestows, usually reserved only for geniuses, war heroes, astronauts, and super spies, being portrayed by Matt Damon. Now, I will admit that this is simply my own opinion, but I find the possibility of being the Carroll Shelby of the verse, sought out by players wanting that extra 1 or 2% of speed, more compelling gameplay than running the IKEA of the universe, being sought out by people by making the crumple deer lounge chair with accurate fabric deformation. But yes, that is just my opinion. And as an aside, I was encouraged by the recent weapons design team video where they previewed what they were working on and included designs specifically intended to look like they were handmade and kit-made, because there are different aesthetics between things that are made handmade and things that are mass-produced in factories. And so I hope what crafting will be in the game are producing these unique items and not having a magic box like the Star Trek replicators that promptly produces whatever you ask for. And this is for 3 reasons. First, a magical manufacturing box dilutes the experience of finding these items as loot in the universe. Second, the Star Trek replicators directly correlate with their setting in which there is no currency and no supply-demand economy, because supply is essentially infinite. So that means that if this box will just produce the assault rifles one after another, which can still be sold for credits, it becomes a fairly tedious gold printing machine, which makes it ideal if you just pay a third world techno-serf to do it for you. And if in the process you flood the market with assault rifles, no problem, just switch the same box and same techno-serf to doing heavy armor, quantum drives, or whatever. And then one segue from the segue on the weapons segment, because it's not enough for a separate video, the crossbow is a very cool weapon, and while it is useful in development to have sound normalized so you can evaluate the tiny details of the sound, when you're actually implementing it in the game, please CIG decrease the volume by at least 20 decibels, maybe 30. Because the whole point of this weapon is to be super stealthy. But returning to my point about having player crafting primarily being the performance tuners of the verse, what will the ability to get what 1% extra entail? And that I will dig into with the next videos I am producing about this, science and exploration. Now for an update on our giveaways. To start with, the special membership to cover the cost of doing live coverage of CitizenCon with its own giveaway for Hull C, the colossal cargo container carrying craft. And although I am still expecting to make the trip to Manchester, the giveaway will happen whether that live coverage has to be done remote or not. Plus, we have our regular Grow the Channel ship giveaway for the Zippy Zazzy Zafty except for the Zeus 2 Cargo, which we are just waiting on the subscriber goal for, as well as the marvelous multiplayer multi-role mining meta, the Arasta. 1 entry per video, be a member for automatic entry and with each video, or subscribe and comment somehow including the secret word. And the secret word for this video is any of the cars that Carroll Shelby created. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.
All right, you bastard. Let's do this again.